Good morning, everyone. My name is Shannon Dubé, and I'm very excited to be here on behalf of Fort McMurray teachers as president of Local 48. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 8 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Dene, and Danesaw and Métis. I acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Welcome to our Municipal Election Candidate Forum. It's really exciting to see all of you here. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. You all seem very excited, and we're happy to have you. I'll begin with some acknowledgments. Thank you to all of the students, teachers, educational assistants, volunteers, and other audience guests who are attending today. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you very much to our mayoral and trustee candidates who made it a priority for our students to be here today. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to Ariana Mancini. I'm sure you've seen her running around. She is our local political engagement officer, and she has worked really hard to have all of you here. There's almost 600 people here. Also, the staff from Keano have worked really hard putting this all together. A special thank you to the grade 6 moderators who are here from Dickensfield. It takes a lot of bravery to come up here and speak in front of all of you, so thank you very much. Also to the students, Mark Wilson and Thomas McDonald from Composite High School, as well as Miguel from Fort McMurray Public School District. They are helping us live stream the event to everyone back in our school, so thank you to them as well. We are here today because we have a very important day coming up on October 16th. It will be Election Day. Some of these fine people here will be elected to represent us, the citizens of Fort McMurray. On this day, we all have the opportunity to have our voices and our opinions heard. I hope for you that learning about democracy, government, and the electoral process, along with researching candidate platforms and discussing relevant issues to our community, has inspired you to appreciate your rights and freedoms as a Canadian. When you choose those names on the ballot for your student vote, you get to decide what you believe is right. You get to choose who you believe will do the best job representing you and your fellow citizens. And on behalf of all Fort McMurray teachers, we cannot be more proud to see you all here, willing participants and caring enough to be asking these questions. As you move through school and into adulthood, we hope you continue to realize the importance of asking questions and getting out and voting. Thank you.
Good morning, Fort McMurray students. My name is Jared Welty, and I am from a called Dickensfield. Welcome to the Mayoral and School Board Trustee Candidate Forum. With me are Daliko Kuta-Teladza and Carter McSween, who will be keeping track of time for the candidates. Carter will be holding up signs, so please look here from time to time. The Alberta Teachers Association, Local 48, is the sponsor of this event. Today's discussion will cover a wide range of topics, including Bill 8 and 21, the new Municipal Act, School Board Reserve Funds, and the new $75 million Classroom Improvement Fund introduced by the Alberta government. We will commence by having candidates introduce themselves and outlining their top 3 priorities. Candidates will have 2 minutes to speak. A 10-minute mayoral debate, followed by a 10-minute mayoral question and answer period for mayoral candidates will ensue. Next, there will be 2 20-minute question and answer segments for each of the public and Catholic school board trustee candidates. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to questions. The mayoral debate questions were determined by grade 6 students and have not been shared or cleared with anyone on the campaigns. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain very polite. No cheers, no applause. That's right, no applauding at all, except when instructed to do so at the end. And no outbursts except right now as we welcome all of our candidates. We will begin with the candidate introduction portion of the forum. Please state your name and the position you are running for. Candidates have been seated in alphabetical order and grouped according to the elected position they are seeking to fill. We will begin with the candidate nearest the podium and go down the line of candidates.
Are we on? Oh, we're on. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. I also acknowledge that we're on Treaty 8, traditional Treaty 8 in Métis lands. I'm a Métis myself, so I appreciate that. My name is Alan Grandison, and I'm running for mayor of this awesome region. It's amazing to see so many of you here, and the reason, my top 3 priorities are, I'm going to kind of tailor that a little bit to this crowd. I certainly, as mayor, want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible in taking care of all of the infrastructure and the things that all of you kids and your families need and deserve. Roads, streets, playgrounds, ball fields, etc. All of those things. They're all very, very important to me. There's a number of issues going on in town right now. Bill 21 is one of them. It's a very important reality that we've now been legislated to change our tax rate for rural industrial, and I'm checking the time. We're also dealing with that. Getting people to realize and develop a Fort McMurray first or a regional first living area so that we've got people living here. Those are all a priority. But here's one that's more specific to this crowd and everybody else. Can the top 3 rows up there stand up for me? Top 3 rows, just stand up. In our last election, we had approximately 20% of the population vote. That's the people who are standing up there. The portion is sitting down did not vote. We live in Canada. Thank you very much. We live in a democratic society where people get out and your voice gets heard. How you do that is voting. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this. That's one of the reasons I'm here. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I hope this is working. My name is Don Scott, and I'm running for mayor of the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. So what I'm hoping to do is I'm not just representing all the parents that are going to be voting. I'm going to be representing all of you, because the things that I want to achieve are going to affect all of you. So I hope that you'll all take that into consideration. One thing that I would ask you to encourage all your friends to do is to vote if they're old enough. As Mr. Grandisham said, that's a real issue in this area. We don't have enough people that feel inspired enough to vote, so please inspire others if you can. My top priority is to get more people living in this region. Has anybody in this room had friends that have left for Calgary or Edmonton or some other place? That's a lot of hands that just went up. There is a lot of people leaving Fort McMurray and this whole region. What I want to do is I want to have policies that will try to get people to move back into this region. That will make this a much stronger place. So all the things that you see in my platform, somehow they are connected back to that. I want more people living here. If you ever want to look at a detailed platform, because what I don't want people to do is I don't want people to just vote for no reason or because they like somebody's name. I want people to read platforms. So my platform is online, and you can see it at donscott.ca. So I encourage all of you to go online, look at everybody's platform. The next thing that I want to do is I want to inspire some of you. Trust me when I say this, I am no smarter than anyone in this room. One of you someday I want to run for office. You know, all these people who are running today, they put their names forward. They had the courage to put their names forward. That should be any of you one day. I want to see that you put your name forward and try to make this a better place, just like all of the people on the stage. The reason that we're doing this is because we love Fort McMurray. We want to make it better. So number 1, I want to get more people living in this region. Number 2, I hope you all feel inspired to get out and vote and encourage others and to someday run. And number 3, I want to get things done for this region. So sometimes you've heard of politicians who talk about things, but they don't actually get anything done. For me, I want to get things done and deliver results for all of you.
Good morning, everyone. So great to see you here, and thanks for inviting us. My name is Alan Vinnie, and I'm running for mayor of the region of Wood Buffalo. just want to highlight 3 things that that I'm going to work on if elected that might be of more interest to you than some of the other things. Number 1, I want our region to be a national model of open and transparent government. Open being public engagement, building on the public engagement we did through the recovery program. And transparent, that's being where you can look in and see what government is doing. And so that means limited in-camera meetings. In-camera is a funny Latin phrase that actually means secret meetings. So less secret meetings, more open meetings. Secondly, sorry, just got to check my note. Right, I want us to do the small things better. People have told me, Al, for people to trust the municipality to do the big things, you guys got to do the small things better. And we have to concentrate on that, rapidly responding to the complaints and issues that arise on a day-to-day basis. That's something I actually learned in grade 7 and grade 8, something you guys might want to think about in your next few years. The more you succeed at school, the more you do what is expected of you as a student, the more your teachers and principals will let you do. Things that I got to do, extra projects, more trips to places in the city where I grew up. And finally, I want to be part of building a region that for you, I want you to be engaged in it. So I want to do things like work on lowering the voting age, and I want the McCoy, the Mayor's Action Committee on Youth, to expand, have an expanded role and expanded participation. And I also want a guaranteed minimum of 1 youth on every committee and board that council appoints to. I want to see people like you around the table on all those boards and committees. So those are the few things I'm working on, so thank you.
Ready? Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here, because this is a real privilege for us to be able to speak with you and for you wanting to listen to what we have to say. My name is Paula Galanzowski. I'm running for re-election with the Fort McMurray Catholic School District. And you know what? The why, my priority is you. That is what our priority is. My priority is the students. Making sure our students have exceptional education and learning experiences every day. Both districts, our Fort McMurray Catholic and our Francophone district as well, who aren't here, but we have exceptional education in our community. And we do want people to live in this community. So if we want to keep people here and have people move here, we need to make sure that we can offer the best possible education that we can. So my commitment is to keep building and growing, because you can always keep learning and you can always keep growing. The second piece to that is being able to advocate to the provincial government to make sure that they are adequately funding our education, so that we have enough money in our districts to support you in your learning and all the new learning we want to do, and all the coding and all the technology and all the new experiences, and keep up with the current learning trends. We need adequate funding, and we need adequate funding to keep up and make sure that every one of you is supported with all the resources you need, all the support you need, all the mental health support you might need throughout your years, and all the support our families need. So those are really, quite simply, my priorities. I can't promise you chocolate milk in your milk machines, but I can promise that within my power, you and your teachers and your staff and your support staff will all be supported sufficiently to give us that exceptional education we're used to. Thank you.
All right, let's do this. Hi, I'm Anthony. Thank you so much for coming. This is super cool. I've never gotten to do something like this before, so I only got 2 minutes, so I'm going to plow through this. Like I said, I'm Anthony. I'm running for McMurray Catholic School Trustee position. I went through our Catholic school system here. I went to Father Bow and then graduated up at Father Mercady many moons ago. I now work for the city at the emergency services, work for the fire department. A couple of my priorities. How many people here really appreciate their teachers? That's a lot of us, right? We love our teachers. They put in a lot of time and effort to make sure, really, that we succeed, that we're going and having the life that we want after school. So our job as a trustee and the school board is to make sure that they're taken care of, to make sure that they're strong physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and they have all the resources they need to feel strong and confident at the front of the classroom to make sure that you guys have everything that you need. My second priority is really, we're looking at the curriculum. We have a fantastic curriculum. The Catholic school system provided me a lot of opportunities, did a lot of traveling. I want to make sure that we are actually providing things that are also very applicable to people, not just going to university, but in their everyday lives. So making sure we have classes on finances, how do people make budgets, just personal finances, how do you manage your stuff in a household, relationships, teaching people the love languages, communication skills, even things from first aid, nutrition, all sorts of stuff. And finally, creating social programs to discuss bigger questions in terms of faith and keeping the faith in our Catholic school systems, and just helping kids understand, is there a God? What does that mean for me? And giving them a safe place to ask those types of questions. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Cathy Langmead, and I'm running for the Catholic School Trustee. A few of you may know me here. I'm quite involved in some of our schools. I have children in grade 6 at Ecole St. Paul and one in grade 9 at Holy Trinity. And before that, we were Eagles. My three priorities are the first priority would be, my first priority would be adequate funding from the government to ensure that you guys all receive the education, the excellent education that you already receive, but to add to that and to make sure that our curriculum is up to date. And the second priority I have is to ensure that our Catholic school systems remain a priority for the Alberta government. I believe in a faith-based education, and I think it's important for all the children that choose to attend our Catholic districts. I have volunteered in Fort McMurray for 13 years and in the Catholic schools for the last 10 years. I've been chair of school councils and the chair of the Council of School Councils, and my mission is to advocate for each and every one of you students, the teachers. I'd like to volunteer in the schools, and I welcome your questions at any time or your feedback. Thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing your parents out there on October 16th and to see what you guys, the result of your vote on the 13th. Thanks.
I'd like to start, but give yourselves a hand of applause. I asked you to do that because last year, ye kids were amazing. Ye came back and you helped us adults get back to life after the fires. So God bless you all, because without you kids, some of us wouldn't have lasted. My name is Keith Mcgrath, and I'm kind of special here on the stage for a lot of reasons. I'm seeking re-election on my 13th year with the Catholic School Board, and I know a lot of your moms and dads. I grew up here in McMurray with them, and I'm seeking my second term on Regional Council. I don't know if you've seen that Canadian flag out there on the road. The reason why I use that, because we're a great country. We welcome everybody. And that's what I see in Catholic schools. We have the paradigm shift. We need to treat everybody equal, no matter their gender, what they think. Our schools' doors are open to each and every citizen in Canada. And also, running for the Catholic School Board, it's great to see the kids that give so much of their time. And I get heavily involved with Santa's Anonymous every year, because it's amazing to go to the communities with food and gifts for everybody in the community and to work alongside the kids. I've done that for a number of years. And the last thing I'll state, some people ask me, how come I have a doghouse in the back of my truck at campaign times. Because I can tell you, at public service, when you make some tough decisions, you're always in the doghouse. And when you're not in the doghouse for making bad decisions or good decisions on council or the school board, your wife puts you in the doghouse. So anyways, when you go home tonight and you're having your supper with mom and dad, just know that they love you. And I know myself from my own personal experience, schools are just more than a place to learn. Schools shape a person up to be the people they are today, the people they are yesterday. And for some of us, even though we don't talk too much about it, they're the safest place some kids know. And that's what really breaks my heart. I know that teachers look out for kids. Teachers are more than teachers. They're moms. Sometimes they're dealing with a lot of stuff. And that's why I always put my name forward, because when the kids open their doors in the morning, some kids, the only safest place they have is school. Some people can't wait. Some kids can't wait for the schools to open. And that's why I'm proud to be part of the Fort McMurray Catholic School District for the last 13 years, and I'm looking forward to serving for another 4. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Robert Yarrow. I'm running for re-election as Catholic School Trustee. I'm a relatively new school trustee, as I was just elected in December. All of us as trustees have things in common. We all want you to have the best possible education. We all want you to have small class sizes. We want you to have all the resources necessary for success. But when parents go to vote, what distinguishes us each from the other? Because for me, that's what's important. First of all, if re-elected as trustee, I have a concern about concussions. Your age group being in school, schools are one of the places where students slip and fall, can bang your head on the desk, you could be involved in school sports. There's always a possibility of concussion. Eric Lindros was the #1 draft choice in the NHL. His hockey career was less than 5 years because of concussions. So the school district needs to put into place a concussion protocol so that when students fall, hit their heads, something is in place. The second priority has to do with school meals. In the United States, they've had school breakfasts, school lunches for over 50 years. Here in Canada, that's not the case. When I was teaching up at Father Merck, and before that at St. John's, for the majority of my teaching career, nothing was done for students who came to school hungry. Research has proven that students who come to school after having something to eat learn a lot better. So over the course of my teaching career at Father Merck, we went from having a small breakfast program to eventually starting to have a lunch program where any student who was hungry could come and be fed. The current government is running a pilot program about school lunches. So if elected, I'm going to advocate for a school lunch system where students in the worst economic situations would get free lunch, there would be a reduced price lunch and a full price lunch. Students who are fed learn. Next, set up the school system for success. One of the things we do in the Catholic school system is we have an early entry program. When students with diverse learning needs are diagnosed early, they're much more successful in school. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Angela Adams. How are you this morning? Good, good. I'm running for Public School Board Trustee at the Fort McMurray Public School District, a position that I've held for the last 13 years. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to run for what would be my 5th term if I was successful. As a board, we've done lots over those several years. And, you know, my #1 priority within the district is student achievement. And through student achievement, school has changed so much over time than when I was in school several years ago, where there was so little options for you to develop what you wanted to do when you were growing up. We have the accelerated program in our high school for kids that want to go on to university. We have the PEAK program at several of our schools that if somebody wants to excel in sports through their schooling, they can go there. We have trades and technologies within our schools, and we also have the arts school at one of our elementary schools. The second priority again would be student achievement, and that would be gained through ensuring that we have good staff As a board, our only actual employee at the district is the superintendent. So he's the one that we deal with directly. But Mr. Nichols is the one that we ensure has the priorities to go out and make sure we have good staff and our staff gets what they need. And the last priority would be, again, student achievement, which we get through parent involvement. We have a networks where we discuss once a month, where we go to what our priorities are and where we should make decisions. So before making those decisions at the board, we bring them to our networks and we make those decisions with the parents to ensure you have all the opportunity that's needed to go ahead and get a good education. So thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Steve Drover, and I'm going to change it up a little bit. I want to talk to you guys about changing a switch. One time I had to go out to Suncor very early in the morning, and when I came off Confed and on the Highway 63 and I'm heading north, I tried to put my headlights on, and they wouldn't work. And it wasn't until I got to the parking lot that I noticed I hadn't turned them on. I just used my daytime running lights, and I was running at about 40% of my potential. So this message is for all of you who are not running at your 100% potential. The world is becoming more complex. The chances of you getting into your college, university, trade school, it's going to get harder and harder. Trying to get the jobs that were very available years ago, they're not there today. Everybody here who is not putting in the 100% into their education, we need to turn a switch. We need to start putting more effort into our education. Your teachers spend a lot of time and energy to help you. The school boards, everyone here stands united to wanting you to succeed and hit 100%. We want to see you do that. But there's only two ways that I know to do that, and that is through time and hard work. Time is the great equalizer. Whether you're rich, poor, white, black, young, old, we all have 24 hours in a day. And how we spend that 24 hours will help us gauge our success in life. By just spending 60 minutes after school on your weakest subjects, I guarantee you will bring your C's to B's, your B's to A's, and will help you in your work ethic to succeed. We all stand together wanting you to reach your highest potential. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing? Good, good. My name is Jonathan Lambert, and I'm running for public school trustee. And the reason why I'm doing this is I used to be a teacher. I've taught in England, in Korea, in the United States, and for 8 years, I had the privilege of teaching in the Fort McMurray Public School District. That's the reason why I want to, it's still a part of my heart. Teaching students, being a part of this school life is still a big piece of me, even though I'm not there anymore. So that's the main reason why I'm running. In terms of the three things that I'd like to see happen, the first thing is I'd like to be a voice for 4 important groups in any school system. The first one, the most important one, is all of you here. Every student here is the most important thing about any school, period. The second group, I'd like to be a voice for your parents, because your parents are probably the most important people in your life. The third group, that sometimes we often forget, are the experts. And the experts are all the teachers that you have had, currently have, and going to have in your school life. And the fourth group is what I like to call the glue of any school, and that's the support staff. The EAs of a school, the custodians of a school, the admin assistants of a school, all the people that help you, your education, be that much better. The second thing I'd like to see is the things that happen outside the classroom for a lot of students are the carrots, for lack of better words, that keep them coming back for more. Stuff that happens before school, during school, and after school that's outside your classroom. So any clubs that you're involved in, the arts, music, athletics, technology, all of those things, I'd like to see all schools have a broad range of that. And the last thing is, my hope is that all of you become what I call, and what a lot of people call in the education world, 21st century learners. And very briefly, what that means is the things that I learned in school may not necessarily be what you guys need to learn nowadays because of technology, jobs change, all of that sort of thing. So hope that you remember my name when you guys have your vote, and best of luck to everybody up here on stage. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for your amazing listening skills. You guys are a great audience, and I recognize lots of familiar faces out there, and so it's wonderful to see you here. Thank you. My name is Solange Marr. I'm running for the position of the Public School Board Trustee, and as a Public School Board Trustee, I will be representing the public school students and parents and advocating for them on the direction that they would like to see our education system developing. So I have lived in Fort McMurray. I've been a member of this community for 25 years. I went to high school here, and I've also raising my children in the public school system here. I have an extensive network through my children with lots of different organizations, and an important part of this role for me is community. Community is what feeds our souls, and you children are the most important part of the community because you spread the joy and the laughter and the light and the creativity. So in order for a community to support you, you need to feel safe and cared for and have opportunities and partnerships. So the other role that I would like to contribute to our board is to build partnerships that support you in your education. Partnerships are a bit tricky because, of course, there's partnerships you have with each other, with your peer group, with your teachers, with your support staff. And then we get to that level, we have to start looking at funding. So support for your partnerships with teachers and for your support staff requires advocacy for funding for provincial government and also industry partnerships, which are important, but I think our government needs to hear a strong message that industry is not responsible for funding education, and it's the provinces, our taxpayers' money, the taxes that you pay, your teachers pay, and that we all pay, that need to support this. And my intention to achieve those two goals of community and partnerships is through communication. Communication is something very complicated in this day and age. How many of you have phones? How many of you have email? How many of you have social media, right? So how do you communicate clearly in a global, multicultural society? So that will be another one of my goals. So I hope that I have the opportunity to represent you all. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Linda Mywert, and I am a trustee candidate for the Fort McMurray Public School District. I have lived in Fort McMurray for over 35 years, and I became a trustee with the Fort McMurray Public School District in 2010. I've been the vice chair of the board since 2013, and prior to that, for 19 plus years, I was involved in education with our 4 children until they graduated from Fort McMurray Public. If re-elected, I commit to working hard on all avenues, but my 3 areas of focus are student learning, balanced budget, and provincial voice. Student learning, to continue to provide a broad range of diverse learning opportunities for students in this very fast-paced world. We need to have the best facilities, technology, staff, leaders, and board to move forward and continue all the good work that's currently being done. A balanced budget. By encouraging budget efficiencies within Fort McMurray that can save costs, but without compromising the high quality learning and education opportunities currently being provided. And to work towards a balanced budget by continuing to lobby the government for adequate funding that is truly focused on the student. and provincial voice. I will continue to work hard to both retain and grow our voice and presence in the provincial education scene with government, with the Alberta School Boards Association, and with the Public School Boards Association of Alberta. Forming good working relationships with government is critical for ensuring that you have what you need in the classrooms, everything you need. Sharing ideas of best practices and bringing back ideas from the 2 provincial school board associations exposes students here and across the province to a wide array of opportunities. Thank you, and best of luck to all the candidates.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see so many young faces all in one room and with an interest to politics and what's going on in your community. And that includes all the teachers and even our public school superintendent at the back up there, young faces. My name is Tim O'Hara. I am running for re-election for the Fort McMurray Public School Board. This would be my 2nd term. I've called Fort McMurray home for the last 5.5 years. My wife and I actually just had a baby here shortly after our little unexpected holiday last May. When we returned to Fort McMurray, we now have a 1-year-old baby at home. The reason that I'm running for Public School Board's trustee is that I like to say that yellow runs in my veins. I've been involved with school boards for the last 12 years, primarily in the transportation side of the world. So all those yellow buses that you came in on this morning, that's what I do. I work with Sparksmen. I have a passion for students. I enjoy school boards. I enjoy going into schools. I enjoy seeing what it is that you do. I want to see that you have opportunities to succeed, that you have a vast array of programs that fit what it is that you love and enjoy to do. And I want to see that you have sustainable, adequate funding for those programs, those services, for the schools that you're in, for the teachers that teach you, and for the programs that it is that you enjoy doing, so that in life you will be able to succeed. So, thank you.
Welcome, grade 6 students. Thank you for, last night I had homework. I had to write put together a little speech, so I thank you for that. Hello, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this forum. It's an honor. My name is Dan Rizzuto. I'm running for Public School Board Trustee. For the past 26 years, I've lived and worked in Fort McMurray. My wife Diane and I have 3 children. One of our children has graduated from the public system, and the other 2 are currently enrolled. I love this city and school district and believe we all can make a difference by providing the gift of our time. Over the years, I've been active within the community by coaching, managing sports teams, and volunteering on various committees. I also served as an educator and administrator for Fort McMurray Public Schools for over 20 years, helping to shape the lives of students. I have a vested interest in our district to continue the excellent work of our trustees, not only for my children, but for the many other students and parents in our community. I was asked to put together 3 top priorities if elected. If elected, my first priority, which is nearest and deepest to my heart, is providing all students the environment to learn and reach their fullest potential. Not all students learn the same way, nor do all students come to school with the same background. We need to recognize this and work towards developing strategies to help all students succeed. Through curriculum reform, parental involvement, and community partnerships, I truly believe we can accomplish this. Second, we need to provide our teaching and support staff the professional development and the resources they need. They are the ones that work directly with our students, and we need to ensure we invest in our staff so that all of our students are well prepared for all the challenges they will face in life. And finally, we need to work collaboratively with parents and agencies within our community to form strong partnerships to help provide more opportunities and resources for our students. In conclusion, I believe that together we are strong, smart, and we can continue to provide all of you with a world-class education that is second to none. Thank you.
We also have one more candidate who came unexpectedly, Mr. Dogart.
Is this working? Thank you very much. Dogar Muhammad Shafiq is my name. I'm being honored to be invited here. I apologize being late. There's a reason with me that for the last week or so, my email system was down, and I was out of step, out of communication. Thanks to my friend, Councillor Keith Mcgrath. Once he felt I'm not here, he gave me a shout. Thank you very much. I'm late, but I got the train. I just remember a joke in my back home country. There was a lady with 4 or 5 kids. 4 or 5 kids are very common with 2 or 3 bags. She wanted to get a train, and she requested another man, brother, can you help me to get the train, which is very common. He said, yes, sister, I will do it. The train came. They were almost running towards the train with the bag and with the 4 or 5 kids. The man who was helping, he was little hard of hearing. You know, kids play around. You know, in that process, he picked up a child of somebody else. The lady was running and looking back and saying, not my kid. The man said, at least you are getting the train. You are getting the train. And ultimately, he pushed the wrong child in the train, and saying that you got the train. So I feel very, at times, certain things make you do wrong or late. Now, first, my priority is to create a discipline all over in the schools. I'm running for public school trustee and also running as a city councillor. You know, children in the school should be highly disciplined. I love education. I did masters in social sciences and a law graduate. My 3 children graduated from the Alberta University. I love education. We want to create a nationalism with the new immigrants also to love Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. This now concludes the personal introduction segment. And we will move into the mayoral candidate debate. Please refrain from clapping and shouting. The mayoral debate will consist of 2 questions formulated by grade 6 students. The debate will last a total of 10 minutes. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to the questions. Question 1. The municipality spent $47 million acquiring properties for the arena, many through expropriation, and millions more on properties for other projects. But the redevelopment plans have stalled, and if elected as mayor, what are your plans to revitalize Fort McMurray's downtown core? Mr. Vinny, you have been chosen to answer first.
Thank you. Concerning the lands that the municipality acquired down sort of between the A&W and the Nomad in there, I still remain convinced that the most effective use of that land would be development of an entertainment center. And while we did not follow through with that in the last council, the objections to it were, I would describe as not agreeing with the proponents who came forward to present their plans for an entertainment center and the cost. So I think in today's climate, we could get a much better fit, a more modest building that for a much better cost, and it could be really what we need to drive economic activity and vibrancy to our downtown if we had a space truly devoted to having entertainment and sports activities. Thank you.
Mr. Scott, it is your turn to respond.
Hi again, everybody. So I'm not on the inside of the municipality right now, so I don't know if they have some big plan, but I could tell you what I'd like to see downtown. So does anybody here go down to Edmonton to go shopping? What I'd rather people do is start shopping up here in Fort McMurray. So I'd rather us have a Costco, a Winners, all the other stores that we need up here. We need a bowling alley. We need all those kind of things. That's what we need in Fort McMurray so that everybody doesn't keep going down to Edmonton to shop. I want to keep the Fort McMurray money in Fort McMurray, and I want to keep all the people here in Fort McMurray so that they can have just as much fun here as they do in other places. So what I don't want to see is what we have right now is a whole bunch of big empty parking lots where nothing is being done. And this is why I say the next mayor and council, what I hope they do is they don't just talk about getting some things done, that they actually get things done. And I don't think we should sit around waiting for Costco or Winners or those other stores to come to Fort McMurray. We need a team of people to go out and recruit them and bring them to Fort McMurray so that we can actually get results for this community. Thanks,
everybody. Mr. Grandison, we will close with your thoughts.
Thank you very much. Absolutely, it'd be awesome to have those stores in Fort McMurray, you bet. And you know, it's unfortunate that we have that land and we have to deal with revitalizing. But one of the realities is, you know, that land was acquired at a high price and now its value is a little bit lower, and we have to figure out what to do with it in a very smart way. Would we love to have a bowling alley in Fort McMurray and some of these other things? You bet. You bet. Unfortunately, as a municipality, it's not our job to go out and build a bowling alley. What we need to do is help somebody else build a bowling alley. Our job is to do rezoning and zone for things to happen, and we have to attract business into town, and that's one of the realities. But I don't want to do it at the expense of the businesses already in town. That doesn't make any sense to me. We bring a Costco in and plunk it down there on Franklin Avenue and close every other grocery store in Fort McMurray. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me either. So we have to do this strategically, and we have to be smart about it. And we have to know what we're doing. And one of the things that I believe very strongly is if you want to talk about business, talk to businesses. If you want to talk about bringing industry in town, let's all get together and sit down at the table and talk about the smartest and best way to achieve that. It's not up to regional council by itself to do that. It's up to us to bring all the parties together, come up with an effective plan that's affordable and reasonable and works for all of our citizens. Thank you.
Just a reminder that there is no applause and that there is no cheering. Sometimes we're going to hear things that we really like and get excited about, and that's okay. If you want to, I saw some people in the front row give a silent thumbs up. Okay, so if you want to show your pleasure or your excitement that way, that's fine. But please refrain from applauding and from cheering. We need to show respect to all the candidates. Thank you.
Question 2. Bill 21 and Bill 8 will change the way the municipality will be able to collect non-residential property tax in relation to the residential tax classes and essentially decrease the total revenue our municipality collects as mayor. What areas of municipal budget are you willing to cut? Mr. Scott, we will begin with you.
Thanks. Bill 21 and Bill 8 sounds like this really complicated thing, but it's not all that complicated. What the last council did is they just made an agreement with industry like the oil sands, and that agreement basically lowers their taxes over 10 years. So what that means is the municipality is going to have less money to spend going forward. So that means there's going to be fewer services, and the people who live in town and other places, their taxes are going to go up. So I'm not very happy about that deal, and I'm not a big fan of it. And I told the council that before they passed it. What I wanted to see, I want the oil sands to be successful because I bet a lot of your parents work for Suncor, Syncrude, CNRL, and all those companies. But I also want this community to be successful. So it's really important for me that the oil sands succeed and that Fort McMurray and this whole region succeed as well. So what I want to do is I want to see the oil sand companies put more people in Fort McMurray. Instead of flying them all over top of us to the oil sands companies and skipping right over Fort McMurray, I don't want that to happen. We need to have more people living in Fort McMurray so that we can all succeed here. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not very happy with Bill 21. So I think that's going to be one of the things that the new mayor and council have to discuss right away once they get elected. I've been part of different governments, and just because somebody makes a rule doesn't mean that you can't get it changed. And I believe that the new mayor and council, if they're motivated, can go to the next level of government, which is the provincial government, and get things changed and improved.
Mr. Grandison, it is your turn to respond.
Thanks so much. You know, I have to agree. I'm not too happy with Bill 21 either, and Bill 8. I'm not happy at all. And unfortunately, the way to lobby and get that changed is back with the provincial government. However, at this moment in time, it is now legislated. The province has made a rule. And one of the reasons I think we're here is because we haven't been sitting down, working with industry, working with our partners, and collaborating effectively and moving forward. The reality is that the tax ratio maybe was a bit high. And as council, and over the last decade, our councillors needed to sit down with industry and perhaps come up with a better rate. And I think we would have done a lot better than 1 to 5. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that at all. And so industry and those affected parties went to the government, and now we are legislated to do this. And here's my fear. I absolutely believe we have to start working forward with this agreement. We can reduce costs. There's been a lot of wastage. A few minutes ago, we were talking about the expropriated land downtown. To me, that's a huge cost. That's a huge cost that perhaps didn't happen. Businesses were closed, so on and so forth, for this dream, and some of those decisions made behind back doors and closed doors and not in the public. I think we need to move forward, being more clear and concise with our public, work collaboratively, work together to come up with solutions that benefit all the citizens, you, your families, your parents, industries, small business, all together. Thank you.
Mr. Vinnie, we will close with your thoughts.
Bill 21 is it's a little bit of a math problem, and I don't want any of you to I don't want to ever hear about any of you guys saying, why do we have to learn this math stuff? Because, you know, I use the practicality and the theory of math every day in my life as a counselor and a lawyer. So we're at this 18-to-1 ratio, and the new rule says it has to be 5-to-1 ratio. But as you know about ratios, that doesn't mean we have to reduce that 18 to 5. We could reduce it to 15, raise the 1 to 3, and we'd be at that 15 to 3. That's a 5-to-1 ratio, right? So the changes that have to come to reducing taxes on the oil sands and you know, all of us, your parents and me, paying a little more on our residential. It's not it doesn't have to be the deal that my fellow colleagues on council proposed to the province. And quite frankly, I was the only one who voted against it. But there will be a reduction of revenue for the municipality, no doubt. We can limit it, and just to answer the question of the moderator, where we can find those savings is we don't need the major capital projects that we have been doing for the last 20 years. We've pretty much built this city now to the extent you need for major capital projects. Our last big one is providing basic services of roads, sewer, and water to the rural regions. But after that, we can find the savings we need, which are much less than what my colleagues think. We can find those in doing less big capital projects. Thank you.
We will now open the floor to our audience to allow them the opportunity to ask questions of our mayoral candidates only. If you have a question for one of the mayoral candidates, you can line up behind one of the microphones located on either side of the theater. Or you can submit your paper question to Ms. Dubé located at the front of the stage. If you ask a question from the microphone, please state your first name and the school you are from. We only have 10 minutes, and so apologize in advance to those who did not get an opportunity to ask their question. Candidates will have 60 seconds to respond. We will begin taking questions at the right microphone and then move from the left.
Is it on?
Right here, like while they were getting ready, do I just say this? No, like when we get there.
Oh, yeah, it's on.
Yes.
But you know what? We'll wait. Yeah. What will you do for the Fort McMurray Public School District?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
What will you do for the Fort McMurray Public School District?
Okay, we're taking questions for the mayors only at this time. That's an excellent question, but we're going to wait till we get to the public and Catholic school board trustees. So we're going to start with the right microphone, and then we're going to move to the left microphone. If you have a question for the mayor, please stand behind the microphone. If you're waiting for a question for the trustee, stay at your seat at this time. So let's try this again at the right microphone, please.
What are your guys' thoughts on making a WHL team in Fort McMurray?
Is that for one of them or all of them?
All of them.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? To have a team here? You bet. The challenge is, can we support a team here? You know, one of the reasons we just talked about the expropriated land downtown, and there was an arena there and a plan to bring in a team. A team can be successful when it has the crowd and the ability to support it. If we could support a team, you'd bet I'd be in support of it. If we could make that happen, if we could get a team interested in coming here, and we could get the support in the community to make that happen, and it was financially feasible, you bet. Anything that's going to provide support and entertainment to our residents would be of great value. But we have to make it work for all our citizens. Thank you.
And I would say to any team that wants to come here, this would be a great place for sports. You know, sports were a big part of my life when I was young. I played basketball. I still play badminton. I want sports teams to come here and set up so that young people have opportunity to see sports and play in sports. And if we can get professional leagues to come here, that's all the better. So the more sporting events we host in this region, I think the better, and the more opportunities. We do have to make sure that we're being realistic financially. Can we afford these things as we go forward? And as we have opportunities, we should certainly look at it.
So part of building an entertainment center downtown would hopefully involve attracting or obtaining a Western Hockey League team. I guess I kind of have an idea that it would still be called the McMurray Oil Barons. They would kind of upgrade to that higher league. Could see some entertaining hockey, but agree with my two colleagues here. It is going to have to be driven by the community, by businesses, by people paying for the tickets and the promotion. But can we have one here? Absolutely. They have these teams in Brandon, Prince George, Prince Albert, Medicine Hat, the Kootenays, a lot of places that are smaller and every bit as remote as we are. So I really think I would love to see a team here, and I think we can do it. Thanks.
Left microphone.
It's on. It's on.
Hello? Okay. Since most of Fort McMurray's fundings come from industries such as oil sands and logging, we provide a lot of it. Chopping down trees and providing oil to burn is not good for the environment. My question is, what are your environmental policies, and what are you going to do to achieve them?
I think leaving leaving the future better than we have it now always makes sense to me. You know, you're right. I've been in Fort McMurray since 1984, and I worked for Fort McKay First Nations in the mid-'80s, and one of the things we were doing was air quality monitoring. And the air quality back in those days was not very good. And as a result, there were a lot of regulatory changes, and industry had to spend billions of dollars to upgrade. And I've been involved and been out to some of the reclamated projects, and some of those are amazing. So my personal policy is that we have to leave the earth a little better than when we found it. I've never been particularly happy. When I moved here, there was no wind. Everybody notice how windy it is now? And that's partially related to the incident last year with the fire. But prior to that, we've been clear-cutting the forest up here forever. All of those trees are being sold and turned into pulp. And I can tell the difference. We're turning into a windy southern Alberta up here because of the lack of trees. Thank you.
And I also want to see this region look as good as it can and be healthy for us all to live in, to have clean drinking water. One of the things that I've talked to a lot of people in the rural communities about is that they want to make sure that their environment is extremely clean. When I was part of the provincial government, that was in a previous role that I had, we laid down a lot of rules for the oil companies to make sure that they were following them so that our air was clean and our water is clean. Now, sometimes there's mistakes that happen, but there are rules in place. We just got to make sure that those rules are followed. And the city, so the municipality and the mayor, has the ability to make sure that things continue happening that have been started, like the recycling program. That should continue. We need to make sure that happens. We have a plastic bag ban in place. We need to make sure that that continues. Maybe we can tweak it a bit and make it better. But we do have some good rules in place. We just need to make sure that they're enforced.
When I hear from the forestry people, you know, as a national industry, they are really pushing the idea that they are a sustainable industry, and they're trying to improve that. And you know, we have a challenge here in Fort McMurray now with all the lost trees. We need to really make sure that the forestry focuses on the sustainability of the forest here. On the oil production. We have more engineers and environmental people here per capita than any place in the world. They are getting cleaner and greener every day. They know their challenges. The industry will adapt and respond to what the world tells them concerning demand of oil. Oil is needed, and this town gets its production cleaner and greener every day. Little increments, but they're meeting that challenge. The municipality, we've kind of hit our light under a bushel. We are on a pathway to becoming the first carbon neutral municipality. Our new 200 hectare landfill is going to turn out to be 190 hectares of greenhouses where we grow fruit and vegetables. Our plan is in 5 to 10 years from now to be actually a net export of fresh fruit and vegetables using the waste that we are collecting. Thank you.
Light microphone.
I'm Gage from SMP. With Bill 21 and Bill 8, how are you planning to pay for the projects like Bowling Alley and Costco? How is this in the best interest for the taxpayers?
Thank you for the question. You know, Bill 21 and Bill 8 reduces the amount of income that the municipality gets from the industrial tax base. One of the things that's going to happen is we can reduce spending to address that, to make sure that we're still delivering solid, effective, cost-effective services to all of our residents. In terms of a bowling alley or as a Costco, as I said earlier, it's not in the municipality's mandate to go out and build a Costco or to go out and build a bowling alley. What is in our mandate is to attract people who want to build one and find ways to be creative. You know, maybe one of the things we can do is talk about some tax forgiveness to motivate small industry. I don't know what all of the options are because I don't know the entire MGA. But I do know that there are options for municipalities to be creative, to bring businesses into town. But again, I want to be careful not to bring the business into town that makes a business that's been here all along close their doors. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for that question. So I want everyone to understand that there is a connection between Bill 21 and Bill 8 and businesses, small businesses in this community. So about 6 months ago, me and my staff, we phoned up the head office of Costco. They've got a phone number. We just rung them up, and we ended up talking to an executive at Costco, and we said, how come you don't open up a store in Fort McMurray? This would seem like a natural place. We're really busy. There's lots of people here. And what they told us is that our population base was too small. So what Bill 21 and Bill 8 do, I believe, is they do not help that situation. The way Bill 21 and Bill 8 are structured, it means that industry is getting their taxes reduced every year for 10 years, and services are going to be reduced over 10 years. But it does nothing to improve the number of people that live in this community, which I think is absolutely critical. What we want is a path forward where more people live here. Then we can attract the Costcos and the other businesses to come to this community. We need to get a committee formed and get more businesses in this community. Bill 21 and Bill 8 are part of that equation.
We will not spend a penny on Costco. That is a private sector company that is in the consumer retail market, and their choice will be to come or not to come. We can encourage that. We're not going to spend money. We're not going to be part of any kind of Costco deal. We don't do that. But you know, to disagree with Mr. Grandison, the actual mandate in the Municipal Government Act for municipalities is provision of recreational opportunities, right? The province does education and health. Federal government does things like the military and the superior court system. We do recreation. And so building a bowling alley, which you just really can't make a business case for, because if you could, somebody would have built one. It's no different than building a hockey arena, a badminton court, a soccer field house. So, you know, I think we need to look at it as a municipality, the idea of building a bowling alley. Thank you.
10 minutes goes by very quickly. I can see all of the students lined up to ask more questions of our mayor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over time slightly. We're going to take one more question from the left microphone, and then I apologize to all the students who have formulated questions, but I have all of the contact information for our candidates, and if you really want to ask them a question, you can take your question to your teacher, and your teacher will probably be able to email your question to the candidates. So one last question from the left microphone, please.
Good morning, mayor candidates. So I heard a little bit about this in your guys' speech, and I was curious about what is your personal opinion on, to say, people that come in just to work in Syncrude, then they leave back to their hometown.
Yes, the fly in, fly out. My personal opinion, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, right? I don't like that we live in a region where anywhere over the last 20 years, there's 30,000 doing that today. There was 80,000 10 years ago. Obviously, it's not a recipe to build a strong and vibrant community here, to have that many people just flying in to work and leaving. The problem is it's not that easy to fix. We live in a free and democratic country, and companies are free to employ people from anywhere they want. There's no laws being broken in what they're doing, and as a municipality, we have one stick, and that is taxing property values. That's the only authority we've been given. Now the province is rolling that back with Bill 21, saying, you know, you can tax these companies, but you're taxing them too much. You got to start taxing them less. So really, the challenge for us is just to make this a more attractive option for people who work in the oil sands. Better commute times to and from the sites, and continue to grow this wonderful city so people can see what a nice thing it would be to live here.
So fly in and fly out is what's going to, in my opinion, make this community unviable if it keeps on going the way it's going. Right now, a lot of planes are coming into this region. They don't even stop at our airport. So the airport traffic in Fort McMurray is down 50% over the last couple of years. So people, if they want a job in this region, the easiest way to do it in some cases is to go to Edmonton or Calgary, get the job, and then fly over us to their job and then fly back home at the end of their shift. So that's not something that makes sense to me. And we need to bring, we need to bring pressure to bear on industry and make a better deal so that more people live in this region. For those of you that didn't get to ask questions, I've got an email, and I would encourage you all to shoot me an email if anybody wants to contact me. And I also have a group of student advisors that are part of my team. If any of you want to join that team, they're not people who vote. They're not old enough to vote, but they're people your age. And they're telling me about things like transit and bullying and other things that they want me to have in mind. So if you'd like to join that team, send me an email. Ms. Mancini and your teachers will have my contact information. Please get in touch with me, okay?
Thank you for the question. Do I like fly in, fly out? Absolutely not. I wish it didn't exist. I worked for the municipality 15 years ago, and I can tell you I was working with industry on fly in, fly out, and we were negotiating a reduction when the regional government jacked the property taxes up for industry, and now they weren't at the table any longer. So in my mind, I'm sure people in this room, how'd you like it if I come along and said you're only allowed to drive a red Ford? Not a black one, not a blue one, not a Dodge, not a Chev, only a red Ford. That's all you're allowed. That's what it's like to say to industry, you can't have fly in, fly out. We have no authority to tell anybody how to do their business. It's their dollars, their money. We need to hold them accountable. We need to work with the province on dealing with this taxation issue, but we can't tell business how to do their business. We need to work with them to the benefit of all of our citizens. Thank you.
We will now move into our 20-minute question and answer period for Catholic School Board trustees only. If you have a question for one of the trustee candidates, you can line up behind one of the microphones located on either side of the theater, or you can submit your paper questions to Ms. Dubé located at the front of the stage. If you ask a question from the microphone, please state your first name and the school you are from. We only have 20 minutes, and so apologize in advance to those who did not get an opportunity to ask the question.
Do you want to go first? Do you want to go first? I never knew it was on. Do you want to go first, Dustin, or no? I don't know what you want to do.
We will begin with a paper question for all candidates. As of August 2016, the Fort McMurray Catholic School District has close to $17 million in accumulated surplus from operations. As a potential trustee, you have important choices to make about programs and staffing to ensure that funding best supports student learning. How would you propose to best use the surplus? Candidates will have 6 seconds to respond.
Just start from here.
Yeah, right here. Yeah. As a potential trustee, you have important choices to make about programs and staffing to ensure that funding best supports student learning. How would you propose to best use the surplus?
So that's a really great question, and every organization has a budget. Every organization has an operational, and they have a capital budget, and we have to think very carefully about where our money goes because we only have so much money. So what school boards do is they have a savings account. That's essentially what your reserve or your surplus is. Some of that surplus is already allocated. We have a couple of new schools that we just opened a couple of years ago, St. Kateri. We have another new school that's going to be opened next year, Elsianic Catholic School, and those schools are going to require extra money to get up and running because they need computer technology, they need carpets in their EAP classrooms, they need desks for their teachers, they need lights, they need blinds, they need all of that stuff. So some of that reserve is held in reserve for those projects we know that are coming up. Every household and every organization should also have a budget in case of emergency. So we have a little bit of money for emergencies. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the question. I just want to remind everyone that once an election is over, the democratic process doesn't end. So something that we can do to ensure that the programs that are getting the funding that need funding is to make sure that the teachers are involved, that our trustees are in the schools and engaging our staff and students. What are the ones that the children are most responding to? What are the ones that you know, are going to be the healthiest for our students? And really include everybody in the discussion, and then as trustees we're able to go and make better informed decisions as to what our job is, to be the voice of the people in the Catholic school district, in order to make those decisions a little bit more democratically and a little bit more responsibly, if that makes sense. Yeah, awesome.
Hi. Okay, so I'm just going to sit this time because I do better with that than standing, obviously. I'm going to defer to Paula on the reserves. I agree that money is kept for emergencies and for our new schools that are opening. Again, though, you guys are more than welcome to ask us any questions. When a person is on the Board of Trustees, our information is on the website, on the Catholic School District website. So you're more than welcome to shoot us an email anytime. And I think the key thing is to be able to be in the schools, talk to the students and teachers, and find out what things do you think are your priorities? Because really our job is to advocate for you and do the best that we can to make sure that you guys are receiving what you need to have the best education you can.
Just to dispel any rumors, the Catholic district is not flush with cash. I've been there for 13 years. We have a great money manager. Our teachers, our administration do a wonderful job. We have a little slush fund, and it's all it takes to wipe that out would be an extra charge to bus our students, because we're underfunded in transportation. We're working with the government on that, but we're not flush with cash, and we make sure every dollar stays in the classroom. And we go out and partner with industry like we did to make the Suncor Performing Arts Theatre, the Father Mercury Trades and Technology. We work with industry. We work with the East Village Pub and different restaurants to provide meals after school, meals before school. So we go out and advocate on your behalf, but every dollar that we get from the government, we keep it in the classroom. When I first started, our budget was about $23 million. Our budget today is just a peak about 70. So that's an enrollment growth of about 70% since I first started 13 years ago. So we don't have a big slush fund. What we have is a rainy day fund.
When we take a look at the school district surplus, there's essentially two surpluses. One is a capital surplus. The capital surplus can only be used on capital projects. So if you've been driving up and down Thickwood Boulevard past Father Merck, you may have noticed a huge excavator there. Well, they had to replace a water main. So the capital reserves would pay for items like that. In this current school year, like many Alberta school districts, the government is not providing sufficient money for bus transportation. So some of the reserve funds are going to pay for busing students. The other thing the reserves are used for is that the Alberta government doesn't hand the school board all of its money at the beginning of the school year. The payments are spread out over the year. And so if for whatever reason a school district money from the government starts to run out before the next check comes in, the reserves can actually use to make payments without having to go to the bank and borrow money and pay interest.
We will begin by taking questions from the left microphone and then from the right.
This is for Keith.
I don't know how the
what?
turn. Oh, it's on. Okay.
What differences have you, in particular, made to the school, district?
I would like to think that I championed being a Catholic, opening our doors to every child that wants an education, no matter of their gender. And I fully supported the LGBTQ, and I'll keep on supporting, because, you know, there's Catholics today that think, you know, they're above all that. And we need to champion a parish, a community that opens our door to each and every child, no matter their faith, no matter where they come from. And we Catholics got to stop judging. And you know, I thank you for the question, because that's why sometimes people look at me saying, oh boy, you know, that guy's unreal. And that's why me and the bishop gets at it, because I believe that we need to change the way we think, because we don't have the right to judge other people by the way they live, whether at home or in school. Thank you.
I'm Caitlin. I go to SMP. And why do you think Catholic schools are not as thriving elsewhere in Canada? How can we assure Catholic schools thrive here?
When we take a look at the history of Canada, here in Alberta, Catholic schools were the first schools that were established. Long before there was a public school system, there was a Catholic school system. The Catholic school system, when Alberta was created along with Saskatchewan, was protected as part of the heritage of what we have. In other provinces, for example, if you take a look at Manitoba in 1870, I used to teach social studies, by the way, so they had a school act. There was a large proportion of the population that was anti-Catholic who formed the government, and they were able to change the school act in Manitoba to essentially ban Catholic schools. So when you take a look at Catholic schooling across Canada, each province has had a particular history, and depending upon what that history is, in some places such as Alberta, Catholic schooling has thrived for well over 100 years, and in other provinces, for example, Newfoundland and Quebec, there are no longer independently publicly funded Catholic schools.
Great question. How do we survive? There's 4 provinces left in Canada that has Catholic education, simply because of you and your parents. In Newfoundland, I went to a Jesuit school from kindergarten to the time I graduated, until I came to Fort McMurray right after high school. And the reason why we still exist in Alberta is because the parents support Catholic education, and we're making that paradigm shift to make sure that we accept all the kids. And there's, like even one of our sister boards, there's an active movement to dissolve Catholic education, but it's our constitutional right. It's been challenged in courts, and it's going to be challenged again in courts. So we have to be front line and center as advocates on your parents' behalf, on your behalf, so that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we still have 2 separate systems that's public education, publicly funded.
And if not, we'll move on to the next question.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm an SMP. My question is for Cathy. Do you have any experience that will help you in the future as a Catholic school trustee?
Well, I hope so. I think, as you can tell, it's easier for me to talk to people one-on-one or in a small group than it is to stand up and talk in front of a large crowd. But I'm very much an advocate for the students. I think my experience is the amount of time that I spend in the schools, in my kids' schools, and as well when I was chairing the Council of School Councils. I don't know if you guys know, that's a council that was set up so that all the schools could, the parents of the schools could have a voice with our district. That has gone by the wayside, and I would like for that to be a key thing, because I think it's important that the parents come to the table at the district and are involved in those conversations. And only when we hear from the students and the parents and the teachers are we able to bring the right things to the table when we're talking to the Alberta government. I think it's also important that we take the information that we receive from the government and bring it back to the parents and the students and the teachers, so that we can all work together as a team to make sure you guys are getting getting the best education you can.
Hello, my name's Michelle. I'm a mom and a resident of McMurray for 45 years. I attended Catholic school right through from Father Turcotte up to Father McCurdy. I have a really good question. During the evacuation, many parents like myself put our kids into school for the last 4 or 5 weeks just to give them a sense of normalcy. And the school my daughter attended with a couple of her friends, it was an absolute shock and an eye-opener to us to see the amount of books, the tablets, the computers, not for a group of 3 students. Every child had one. Every child. My daughter right now attends Father Turcotte. I would have to say this current Catholic school board right now has very little to do with the young elementary schools. I hear always about the high schools, Holy Trinity, Father McCurdy. What are you going to do to keep our young kids in line, educated, and to make sure they're not sharing every time with a group of 3 for a tablet or anything like that?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking that. I think, again, I have to rely on the democratic process. I am relatively new to this, but I would like to answer and hope that, if elected, I would be as involved with the students and staff at the high schools as I am with the students and staff and parents at the elementary schools. I have some young nephews, and I have some similar concerns with the schools that they're attending. And I would like at our meetings, at our trustee meetings, to make sure that we're spending an equal amount of time on the issues addressing both the high schools and the elementary schools. Thanks.
Hello. That's a really great question, and before I became a trustee, I had the same questions. It was part of the reason why I became a trustee, because I found as a parent, you hit a bit of a glass ceiling and you can't get any more information about how things work. Currently, the government does not fund across the board, across the province, per child for technology. So it is not fair. It does land in the hands of the parents and fundraising, and schools to fundraise, and districts to find that money. And that is a challenge. And it's not right. What is evident here, and I would tend to agree with you, my experience having moved now a child from grade 6 to grade 7 and going through that transition through elementary to high school, we do have a real emphasis on high school, and that is because they're nearing the end of their graduation. But there really does need to be, and we did speak about that this year, about bringing focus back into the elementary schools to get them ready, prepared for that transition, and so that they have that equal opportunity.
When I was, during my teaching career, there was a point in time when the Fort McMurray Catholic school system was winning national awards as one of the most progressive school districts in the introduction of computers, local area networks in all of Canada. Over the years, that changed. We lost the ability to have property taxation, so the amount of money began to decline. I've only been a trustee for 10 months, so I'm not sure of all the past history, what has taken place, but that is definitely a problem that has now been identified, and it's something that the next Board of Trustees will have to address.
Would anybody else like to respond? If not, we will move to the next question.
My name's Emma. I'm from Sister Mary Phillips School. My question's to Paula. How would you support teachers in obtaining more technology in the classroom?
I think that's a really great question. I'm going to build on my answer. Now that we have gone through a government that was really focused on 21st century learners, which means our teaching technology must keep up with job trends and careers and keep up with technology. And so what we are looking at now is we're looking at some ways to use some increased funding from the government, which doesn't happen very often, classroom improvement grants, looking at ways to cut in different areas and to bring up the equity for across the board so that everybody has that equal opportunity for technology, because we don't want certainly to be in a position where some kids, children, some students are not able to keep up or have the resources or have the opportunities as others to have that opportunity for success.
The person at the left microphone, you may speak now.
I'm John from Holy Trinity, and I just wanted to know what you guys' views on the French middle immersion program. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if anybody knows me or not, but I have an opinion on that one. Both of my girls attended the Middle French Immersion program, and that is one of my issues. I really believe in French immersion. I believe in it from the kindergarten and grade 1 level, but I also think that it's important that we have it in Fort McMurray at a higher level for parents that aren't ready when their kids are in kindergarten or grade 1 to put them in that stream. The ability for kids to be able to enter it in grade 4, I think, has been an awesome way for them to be able to learn French. The kids are still young enough to want to learn a different language, and the parents are still able to, you know, be involved in the school area. So I'm certainly an advocate for it.
I wouldn't mind saying 2 words on that one. I did attend French immersion all throughout school here at Father Beauregard, and then graduate with a bilingual diploma at Father Merck. And at the time, I didn't see its value. But right now, having been graduated for 10 years or so, I've been to over 40 countries. I've done a lot of traveling, and French immersion taught me so much about culture. It taught me so much. I was able to speak in countries that I wouldn't have been able to communicate at all if I only had English. It's opened up doors for career opportunities. You know, I travel through Europe, and people there are speaking 4, 5, 6 languages like it's no big deal. And I think that we really have that potential and should really champion multilinguistics, especially as we sort of diversify as a culture here, even in Canada.
If anybody else would like to respond, if not, we will move to the next question.
When I was growing up in Edmonton, one of the things I always regretted after I got out of high school was the fact that I wasn't able to continue in French. Canada is a bilingual country, and even though we do have a francophone school here in the city, there are benefits for students to take French immersion. We've had students from our school system who've been pages in the House of Commons, and the reason why is because they were able to take French immersion in our schools.
We will now move to the next question.
What do you feel about the new mental math questions of grade 9 PAT finals? Is it only fair that it was only added now?
Well, great question. You know, the PATs, they put a lot of pressure on kids, and the kid that takes the PAT on that particular day could be having home troubles or some other troubles, and you know, we tried to champion the government to switch that up a little and not put so much emphasis on that day. But the reason why the Fort McMurray Catholic School District graduates more Aboriginal kids than any other school district in Canada is because we don't pressure the kids. We open up our schools for a care place learning. And the PATs, I believe we need to review all the PATs, not just the math, but the whole program. And you can look forward to having some revisions in that, along with collective speaking from other boards across the province. They're having the same issues we are here locally.
There was recently a program about standardized testing, and they were interviewing a student from Finland, which is now considered to be the best educational school system in the world. And they were asked about, well, did you take any standardized tests when the United States? And they essentially said, well, in Sweden we have no standardized tests. Students in Sweden do extremely well. When you take a look at a standardized test, it's a test that takes place on one day, one particular time. It doesn't test everything a child learns in school. When I was teaching, and now I was a very active ATA member, and the Teachers Association has not liked provincial achievement testing and advocated to reduce the amount of the mark on the diploma exam that goes to a student's average, advocated for an end to PATs in grade 3. And these are all things that as a school trustee I still support.
We will now move into our 20-minute question and answer period for public school board trustee only. If you have a question for one of the trustee candidates, you can line up behind one of the microphones located on either side of the theater, or you can submit your paper question to Ms. Dubé, located at the front of the stage. If you ask a question from the microphone, please state your first name and the school you are from. We only have 20 minutes, and so apologize in advance to those who did not get an opportunity to ask their question.
Talk to me before we go.
We are running slightly over time. If candidates have other commitments that they need to get to and have already spoken, you are more than welcome to leave. We appreciate you being here. So if that needs to happen, you can do so now. No? Okay, we're running slightly over time. So if we... We're going to move straight into our question and answer period here for the, thank you, for the public school board trustees. I'm going to ask that we quiet down now. Thank you. We still have 20 minutes for our public school board trustees.
We will begin with a paper question for all candidates. Sexual and gender minority students face disproportionate rates of bullying, which can have disastrous consequences as a trustee candidate. What is your view of creating safe learning environments for all students, and how would you specifically support sexual and gender minority students? Candidates will have 60 seconds to respond.
Hi. Well, this is a really good question. It was something that was brought up at our last board meeting. But we were one of the first districts in the province to put in a policy on LGBTQ students within our district. We put a policy in place before it was ever a law telling school boards that they had to do something, because we've seen issues within the schools. We have always recognized diversity in our schools and that every student is an individual, and we had to recognize the difference in students and make sure that we supported them and that there were those structures in place for all students, no matter where they were on that spectrum, to be able to come in and have a conversation with somebody and feel safe, and encourage freedom, and encourage our students to support each other no matter what orientation they choose to be.
It's my turn. Oh, thank you very much. It's a good question. I feel that there should be freedom and respect for every individual and every gender. They must be respected, honored, and no unnecessary criticism. This is the way we should behave, like a family in any institution. Must respect, must love each other. No criticism, no bullying around. Thank you very much.
Angela's right. You know, this is more of a hot topic in the last year, but we've been working as a district to be ahead of the game, to make sure that all our students feel safe and they're in a caring environment, no matter whether it's sexual orientation or other issues, cultures, religions. We want to make sure that every child is an individual in our school district and that we're raising global citizens. And I believe in many ways, this is one area we've been in the forefront to try to get ahead of the curve across the province. And I'm proud of the hard work that we've done and will continue to do to make sure that all students are safe in our schools.
The safety of students in all schools, doesn't matter what district, is paramount. Learning can't happen if people are afraid of bullying, afraid of being who they are. In a lot of ways, you guys who are sitting here, you get it even more, in some ways, better than we adults do. Because in my experiences, oftentimes it's the students that are oftentimes the most encompassing and accepting, and sometimes the adults can learn from you guys. One of the things that I really enjoyed, my current job right now, I'm the athletic director for the Keano Huskies, and this past August, I was fortunate enough to be able to go down to the Pride event that happened in August and brought all the Keano Husky athletes along with myself, and I couldn't believe how much the student athletes who were 19, 20, 21-year-old loved the event, and it was the first time they were ever exposed to something like that. So education is one of those things where we're constantly learning, and I am done.
Good, thank you for the question. To add on to what Jonathan said, safe and caring schools is the goal of the public school districts, to provide every student with a safe and caring school. Without safety or not feeling safe, your happiness depends on it, and the happiness of everybody in this room depends on having your needs met, your basic needs, your safety needs, and then structure, routine, predictability. On the topic of gender, I don't think it matters to the students. I don't think it matters to each other. I don't think it matters as much to you as it does to adults, these issues. As a leader, it's our job not just to lead, but to teach leadership and to teach you to advocate for yourself, to give you a safe place to go and to give you the tools you need to meet your needs. And as well, representing a board on those types of decisions, it's a board decision, not my personal decision. It's your personal decisions, not my decision.
Thank you. Safe, caring, welcome, respectful for all. Staff, students, parents, families. It doesn't mean we don't come from different backgrounds, cultures, ethnicities, religions, but it means that we have respect for all. And that goes for gender, that goes for religion, that goes for culture, that goes for all of us. And so as a school district, as a public school district, we want to provide that for all of our students. And I will continue to work towards that. I do hold different beliefs on things. We do at our board table. We debate them, we talk about them, we discuss them. But I know for sure we are always united in believing that our students are safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Sitting around the board table discussing this, and this has been a topic that's come up many times for us. We are, as Linda and Angela said, and everybody up here, the public school system, we welcome all. And it is meant to be a safe and caring environment for all students to learn in. But as we sit around the table, there are, personally, the LGBTQ topic was really new to me. And the things that I've learned just around it is mind-blowing in some cases. And one of the things that was brought up to us the other day was that some stats that 90% of those who struggle with gender identity without parental support are prone to suicidal thoughts. That's huge, and we have programs and procedures in place at the public school system that we can really work with our students to reduce that and get them the supports that they need. Thank you.
Would anybody like to respond? If not, we will begin by taking questions from the right microphone and then from the left.
I'd just like to just add, you know, you look around, we're all unique, we're all unique individuals, we're all different in some form or shape, and it's so important that we recognize that and that we understand that, yeah, our background might be different, but at the same time, we can all learn to live together and respect each other, and that's so important. You know, not only is it important that, but we also need to educate others, and not only educate, we need to lead by example. So I truly believe we can make a difference if we all work together.
We will now begin by taking questions from the right microphone and then the left.
Hello, my name is Jeremy and I'm from Dr. Clark's school. Is it on your agenda if you can update the parks?
Anybody want to jump on that?
Sure. I just want to mention that the parks actually belong to the municipality, but it's been, my daughter went to Dr. Clark up till last year, and I know that it is an area of frustration for us as parents, as much as the students, wanting to get those updated, because the kids love them. My daughter loved them, and we'll keep working with the municipality to get that stuff done. But it is not our own equipment. We don't fund that, and it's not a use of our school dollars.
One thing I will say, even though it's not the board's responsibility, in some of the public schools, such as Walter Gladys, they have outside school classrooms. So the hope is to bring more of that learning environment to all schools, because everybody learns differently.
For the question, I think it's a good question that even though it's not directly in our purview, that we are mindful that outdoor and physical activity is critical to academic achievement and mental and emotional and physical well-being. So we will keep it on our radar to whatever degree we can to affect positive change if need be.
Hi, my name is McMurray and I'm in Dr. Clark, and I just wanted to know if it's on your agenda to upgrade the classrooms.
Yes, it's my turn, I suppose, now. Thank you very much. Good question. I feel very happy that a lot of innovation is going on. Surely there must be upbringing of the parks, new parks, and updating maintenance of the old parks. The physical activities makes a lot of difference. Physical fitness makes the mental fitness also. My background is from Army, 23 years, and I feel that physical activities leads towards the practical aspects. So a lot of competition should be there. The parents should also take interest in the physical activities and in the parks to bring the practical aspects in light. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have a look at our capital plan, you'll see what's the priority in there. And of course, we cannot upgrade every school every year. 10 years ago we did Dr. Clark. You know, Dr. Clark was totally done from start to finish. Currently, if you look when you're going outside, you'll see all of the fencing up at our high school, Composite High. We are currently in a 3-phased portion of redoing that school. You know, that the government has financed over the last 5 years and will continue to go until we're done. And there are schools that are on our capital plan that are up to be upgraded over time. So if you have a look there, we do have a plan to upgrade as we go. It's just not every school every year.
Would anybody else like to speak? The person on the left may ask a question now.
Hi, I'm Suhana, and I'm from Islamic school. Have you ever been in a leadership role before?
I'll start with that. Yes, I have. I've been lucky enough to be a teacher for 15 years, and I consider that one of the biggest leadership roles on the planet because it impacts so many of the future. In addition to that, I'm the director of the Singfield Sport and Wellness Center and the athletic director of the Keano Huskies. So I have a number of people great employees that help that building run every day. In addition to that, I'm the board chair for Fort McMurray Tourism, and I'm the board chair for Fort McMurray Sport Tourism. So leadership is something that it's something I think we all are a part of, or we wouldn't be here. So thanks for your question.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. Leadership traits must have to be brought up, inculcated in the very initial stages. I have been involved as a leader. I was in the NATO forces, allied NATO forces for 23 years as a major. And I feel for leadership, you have to be very much forthcoming. You have to come ahead. You have to give self-example. In order to give self-example, you have to be thoroughly motivated. You have to be thoroughly professional. You should know your job. You should have the courage to do. And it is always the great people who are forthcoming, who display leadership qualities and motivate others by virtue of their actions. And it is not the official roles in the politics or military or education where you display leadership qualities. Leadership qualities can be in every role. Even as a laborer, you have to be professional, forthcoming. Thank you very much.
And if I could just add, if I could just add, I've been privileged to spend 20 plus years working for Fort McMurray Public Schools, and half that time as a school administrator. And tell you, one of the keys to leadership is being a good listener and listening to all stakeholders, that's students, parents, and of course the community. I mean, being able to gather that data and make change comes from all of you. So absolutely, leadership's important, but that listening is so valuable.
Thank you. I'll just make a note on that as well, as I'm not a current board member, and I'm seeking for that position, and I'm sure you're wondering about my leadership capacity. As a mother, obviously, that is a strong leadership role, and that is my most important role that I take most seriously in my role as a leader. As well, I'm a small business owner in Fort McMurray and have employees that I help lead. Sitting on parent council groups and networks groups is an opportunity for leadership. But what energizes me and excites me most about the position as a trustee is the collaboration, having an opportunity to represent the parents that I have a chance to talk to through my workings and volunteering with the schools, and the students, and collaborating as a leadership role. I think it's just bringing all those voices together and finding solutions that work for everybody.
Yeah, to answer the question, yes, various leadership roles. In the school district for the past 7 years, in the community, I chair a committee called the Advisory Committee on Aging, where our vision statement is aging with dignity in Wood Buffalo. So right from the day you're born, if you want to live here until you are a senior, I have various leadership roles in my church, and we participate actively in our community. So yes, leadership is part of who I am.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, I've been involved in leadership for many years myself. Currently, 4 years now as a trustee here in Fort McMurray. I also sit as the chair of internal transportation for the upcoming Alberta Winter Games. I was also the chair of internal transportation for the Summer Games that was here a few years ago. Before my time here, I also was the coordinator for the Red Deer Church Slow Pitch League, ran that for several years. And up here as well, I currently manage Sparksman Transportation, and I am the general manager there, and we have 90 employees working for us. So I do see myself in a leadership role almost every day.
Yeah, and you know, I'm quite similar. I have a lot of experience in leadership throughout my private life, at my employer, at community organizations. But I have over 20 years experience in leadership roles in Fort McMurray Public. I started when my youngest daughter was in Educare. I was chair of the Educare board, and I eventually became chair of the Greeley Road School Council, and then eventually ran for trustee 4 terms ago. So my experience runs longer than 20 years within a leadership role in the Fort McMurray Public School District.
I too have held many different roles, both here and other communities. 5 years as a trustee here in the public system, about 12 years as a steward with Unifor, the Union for Suncor, and 4 of those were vice president. And then for about 10 years before I came here, I actually ran a youth group for kids your age, and it was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had.
Thank you for all of your questions. That ends today's debate. We want to thank the folks here in Keanu Theatre, the Alberta Teachers Association, the Alberta Teachers Association, Local 48, the students and staff from Composite High School who live streamed the event, to all of the teachers and students in the audience who participated in the forum today, and to all of the candidates. Good luck on the campaign trail. Please give everyone a big round of applause. There is another mayoral debate scheduled. The Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce will be hosting a mayoral forum on October 10th at 6:30 p.m. at Suncor Energy Center for the Performing Arts in partnership with Mix 103.7 and the Fort McMurray Today. Please follow your teacher in an orderly fashion and out to the awaiting buses. Thank you for attending and have a good day, everyone.